All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another live episode of The Rough Report. I'm Jimmy Ruffian, reporting live from downtown Toronto. Where we are going through yet another lockdown, and we're going to be talking about that again today. There's more lockdown, but sort of not. What the hell is going on there? We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about union busting and, some other praxis. We'll see what we get to. I'm not sure how long today's episode's going to be. Listen, folks, I am normally in a not pandemic, I'd be a lot more of a polyamorous person. That can take up a lot of your time. There's a lot of scheduling involved in that. But I also work full time, and I'm a musician, and I do this podcast. I like filling up my time, but man, there's only so much time. So trying to stay up on everything, it's tricky sometimes. So I've been focusing a lot more on the music recently. So I've been kind of like not worrying so much about what the runtime of these episodes are, and I think that's actually working for the benefit of the show, if I'm not mistaken. Here, let me get the theme music off here. All right, thanks again for tuning in, and if you are tuning in, leave some comments. Let's get chatting. Let me know that you're here. Let me know what's on your mind. Let's get your reactions live. If you're watching on Twitch, thank you so much for watching on Twitch. The Twitch channel is fairly new. There isn't I'm not even sure why the last live episode that I did on Twitch didn't stay uploaded to there like it does on YouTube and Facebook. I'm not sure what happened with that. But I guess I'll figure it out. All right, let's start with the top story here. Old Dougie, this fucking guy right here, he's at it again. As we all knew, we all saw this coming. We all knew exactly what was going to happen. That when we played loose with the rules once again, that it was going to come back and bite us in the ass. And sure enough, it did. The numbers have gone up and up and up. We still don't completely understand what the variants of COVID are and how they spread. We're not sure of what the full impact of those things are going to be. And yet, Doug Ford decided that it was a good idea to open anyway. So, good times. Yeah, little sub. It's yeah. People are getting sick of this and having a hard time managing it and having a harder time. Even people that were decent at the beginning of this are having a hard time remaining decent and following all the procedures and remaining responsible people and even having a good understanding of what they're supposed to do even is. There is, thanks to this guy, so much very convenient vagueness and very convenient lack of taking a hard stance on anything that when you get people who, say younger people, working people who are perhaps having gatherings that they shouldn't, or aren't wearing their masks properly in the workplace, or, aren't paying attention to all things all the time when it comes to this, it's getting harder to want to even hold those people accountable. Like, how long can you continue to do that before people get fed up, confused, exhausted, stop thinking about it as much. There's so many layers of complication, irresponsibility, and convenient vagueness that has happened over the course of the past year that when you're hearing people in and around the Ford administration, blaming young people for partying as a main reason why COVID continues to spread, when in order to get to work, I have to pack on myself onto a crowded TTC train where the enforcement of wearing PPE is not. It's just not there. There's no enforcement whatsoever. People are too close together, and people are often not wearing it properly, if at all. But you want to blame the actions of individuals when it's convenient to do so, when it is the actions of this administration, when it is the actions of making these people have to go to work. Exactly. People who are between the ages of 20 to 30 are the ones working the essential jobs for the vast majority. They're the ones who are having to take the transit every day. They're the ones who have to commute. They are the ones who have to work alongside the general public, with the general public that has their noses sticking out of their masks. It's just it's such an obvious attempt to just not not have us look at what the real problem is here, not have us look at what Doug Ford and his administration is doing to create this problem and exasperate it. So, of course, as this article says, Ontario imposes province-wide emergency brake as a third wave of COVID hits hard, and the new effects are to take place on Saturday. So when I just happened to be going for a walk out and about today to get a little bit of sunshine, couldn't help but to notice people were definitely eating on patios. And this was after the announcement already took place. We're talking around 2-3 p.m., somewhere around there. I was out having a walk. And yeah, there were most certainly people eating at restaurants and things like that, which seems insane to me right after they said, yeah, we're having a third wave and you should all go home. Maybe they didn't all hear about that. But again, it's getting harder to blame these people. Oh, you lock down, you open up. You lock down, you open up. I don't know what's going on anymore. I don't care. I'm exhausted. I've been dealing with this shit for a year. Like, I get it. It's tough. We're still dealing with it the best we can. I'm trying to be as responsible a person as possible. But then the more you're looking next to you and seeing people continue to not be responsible and then continue to see this yo-yo up and down strategy to what Doug Ford is doing, it's maddening. You don't know where to stand. You're trying your best to do the right thing, but everything just feels freaking wacky. So yeah, I'm at this point now where I have a lot of sympathy with people who are just like sort of fed up with trying to be responsible. I'm not encouraging bad behavior by any means, but it's just harder to blame them. Doug Ford should resign, in case we're not clear. I'm not sure if I said that in this episode already. When I was prepping for this episode, I was thinking I'm just going to say that a lot throughout the episode. Oh, by the way, Doug Ford should resign for his gross incompetence. And it's unfortunate to hear. I don't actually have an article pulled up on it right now. But, as an aside to that, it's unfortunate to hear that the NDP premier out in BC, or NDP leader out in BC, is being pretty much just as much a shithead about this as Doug Ford is. And as much as I still have faith in the NDP party, and I try and support them when it comes to the electorate, at least still currently. It's disappointing to see this further sort of slide into just your kind of standard of the mill liberalism, or just, the straight up neoliberalism. There, I got it out. That has gripped the kind of standard center pole of politics over the past 20 years or so. It has been very disappointing to kind of have that realization about the NDP and see that it's kind of separated itself from its, more socialist roots. But I still have faith for the party yet. But yeah, hearing the guy out in BC is essentially no different than Doug Ford is. It's saddening, to say the least. Speaking of saddening, let's go on to a entirely different sad subject. Oh, actually, wait. Well, let's do that in a second. There's another part of this I wanted to reach. To pull this up here. The Ontario government is opposing a province-wide emergency break starting Saturday, but stopped short of a stay-at-home order. They stopped short of that, despite modeling showing such a measure could significantly curb the surge in COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations. So I think what we're in, the status that we're in now is white, which is different from gray, which I guess is worse than gray. This is a very confusing color system. I've never completely understood what the idea of these freaking colors are. It's almost like cartoonish in terms of, like it's like satirizing itself in terms of like the way governments can be goofy about this stuff. Give it a color code and it just follows no logic whatsoever. But anyway. So yeah, all the projections show that a stay-at-home order, something that we saw akin to what we were going through about a year ago, mid-March, that 2-week lockdown that we initially had, that went on a little bit longer. Oh, thank you, dear.
Yeah, here we're in week 105
of Week 105?
Of puce.
Of what?
Puce.
Puce.
Delightful
Oh,
color.
puce. I'm not even sure what that is. I'm going to have to Google what color that is. If it's a delightful color, I don't think we're in day 105 of it. This doesn't feel like a delightful color. This feels like whiteness, to be honest. To tell a slightly, I guess, cringy lefty joke. Maybe cringy, I don't know. Could be funny. I don't know what's funny anymore when it comes to this stuff. I'll be honest with you. Nat Prince, everybody, who hasn't joined me on the show in far too long. She, mind you, the state of everything has just been exhausting, and she hasn't felt like doing it, so I can hardly blame her for that. Sometimes I don't feel like doing it, but for the sake of trying to be a professional at this and like push myself to be better, I usually do it anyway. Yeah, so we're hitting this emergency break, but it's not really an emergency break, right? Like, businesses are still going to be open. Most people are still going to have to continue to go to work, leave their house, kind of go to work. So again, this is not a stay-at-home order, like even though all the experts are saying should happen. And then probably in a few weeks, once Doug Ford, I guess, gets bored of it, is going to open back up again. Probably well before any kind of significant percentage of the population gets a vaccine. So in case I haven't mentioned it already, in case this hasn't been said in this episode, in terms of the disaster that has been the COVID-19 response from the Ford administration, Doug Ford should resign. Should probably do that. That might be a thing that Doug Ford should do, is maybe resign. That would be the most respectful thing that he could do at this point. Or maybe, I don't know, if he wants to follow in the brotherly footsteps, maybe we can just catch him smoking crack on video. Nothing against crack smokers, you know. They deserve help just like anybody else. But when you're in a position of privilege like the Ford brothers are/were, gets a little easier to make fun of. You know, considering that they would happily step on the faces and put away the average crack smoker. But they doing it, you know, when they do it, it's classy, I guess. I don't know if I've ever mentioned Rob Ford on this show yet. No, I think of it. It's still funny to think that Doug Ford even got elected, given what a shit show his brother was and what a silly sort of clown shoe ass second-rate motherfucker that Doug Ford was as his Toronto City Councillor. How he rose the ranks to be the provincial leader of the Conservatives and then actually be elected by this stupid province. It's pretty amazing. You got to kind of just love the sheer stupidity of it. So now that I think of it, I can't believe I was going to try and skip to that story, another story, so quickly when I still have this to talk about. Here, let me go back here. Boo, 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 boo. All right, yeah, this video of old Dougie here. Let's get that. Just the mere opening of this. I'll just play the first few minutes of it. Maybe we'll go a little deeper into it. But just like when I was watching this earlier, just like I'm not even sure I have the words. I wish I had a caller on the show today, or I arranged to have some sort of second voice that I could bounce my feelings off of on the air, because I'm not sure how to articulate how cringy this guy is just when he does literally anything.
Well, good afternoon, friends.
Just the way, like, I'm so bad for this, pausing it like every few words, but just the way he said good morning or good afternoon, just that alone, I'm already like, oh, this fucking guy. Just like right off the bat. Just like, let's watch that again. Do you get what I mean? Even just the way he says that, I'm already upset.
Well, good afternoon, friends.
I don't know
we're
what it is.
facing a very, very serious situation. As I've said many times, we will do whatever it takes to protect the people of Ontario.
Really? Because the experts are saying it should be a stay-at-home order, and that's not what you're about to announce. So do anything to protect them. Do anything. That's already a lie. You're 16 seconds into this video, and you've already just basically null and voided the whole point of the entire thing.
And as Premier, it falls on me. I'm the one who has to make the tough decisions. Today, I need to make one of those tough decisions.
Is it really that tough?
Saturday, April the 3rd.
Is it that tough?
At 12:01 a.m., Ontario will pull the emergency brake for the entire province.
We'll pull the emergency brake. He's like, Why does it sound like like he's like just doing us a favor right now? Like that his sort of like approach to this is like, yeah, I guess I'll do this safety thing and we'll pull the emergency brake. I don't want to do it, but I'll do it for you, Ontario, even though I'm not going to pull it all the way and stop short of what, anything effective might be. I hate this man so much, and he should not have this job. He should resign. Did I mention that yet? Jesus Christ.
All 34 public health regions will move into shutdown for a period of 4 weeks. Friends, right now, we're into a third wave of COVID-19. The variants of concern are spreading rapidly. This is a new pandemic. We're now fighting a new enemy. The new variants are far more dangerous than before. They spread faster, and they do more.
And that's why we're not going to do this national stay-at-home order, or at least a province-wide stay-at-home order. We're not doing that thing that we did last year. We're not doing that, even though it's more dangerous than ever before. We're not doing it. Thank you, Nat. That is co-host Nat Prince, by the way, who's commenting in the Facebook live feed. If you're on that, you can see what she's saying. She's putting in all caps, paid sick days. Yes, obviously. That thing that Doug Ford took away from the legislature? Like, we had it in our labor laws that we were supposed to get sick days. And one of the first things he did at the beginning of his administration, mind you, a bit before this pandemic started, he cut paid sick days. Now, I'm not saying a bit before this pandemic started, like what he did at all was justifiable, because the reason that we have paid sick days is, in case emergencies happen. It would have been great if we were actually prepared in case of an emergency. That would be cool. I think I'd be okay with a little emergency preparation investment being done at this point. I think that would be all right. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know.
Harm than the virus we were fighting last year. Younger people are ending up in the hospital. And with these new variants, the risk of ICU admissions is 2 times higher. The risk of death is 1.5 times higher. And today, we have 2,557 confirmed new cases of COVID-19 in the province. We're now seeing a nearly 14% increase in hospitalizations, with COVID-19 patients in ICU increasing dramatically. In fact, we've never had more Ontarians in intensive care than we do today. We're working around the...
Yet you're not doing a province-wide stay-at-home order. Why? It is baffling. Yeah. Thank you, Lily. I feel like in terms of the color thing, red, like, it sounds like the worst, right? Code red or maybe code black, like where everything's just like dark. It's all the colors mixed together. It can't get any worse than that. Red or black sounds like, just how we're raised to reference colors in the urgency of things, generally speaking. Those are the bad colors, right? When it comes to an emergency situation. When you have a code red or a code black, you're not doing good. But, I think it's actually kind of funny because in terms of, it's a stereotypical thing to associate, linguistically, blackness with worstness, with darkness, with evil. I think having the worst of the worst rating before you're in just a stay-at-home order, being whiteness, it's a little subversive on the part of the Ford administration. Give them a little credit there. Maybe they don't deserve any of that credit whatsoever. They probably don't. I'm not giving it to them anyways. What was the gorilla thing again? I remember seeing like a supercut of the ridiculous lines that Doug Ford said throughout this whole thing, and I remember there was something about Doug Ford subverting literary tropes. Exactly. Yeah, he's on the cutting edge of progressiveness there, obviously. But yeah, I forget what he said. Like, didn't he say something like, "I'm gonna be on this like a gorilla on a banana" or something like that? Didn't he say, I'm gonna come down on folks like an 800-pound gorilla. That's what it was. Thank you, Nat. I knew I should get like that supercut up. I think I saw it on TikTok originally, the cut of him saying ridiculous things. So I don't know if I could quickly find it on YouTube or not, but I encourage anyone to maybe go ahead and start Googling the Doug Ford supercut of super stupid shit that he has said throughout this pandemic. I'm going to come down on folks like an 800-pound gorilla. You're going to beat people to death if they're not following COVID regulation. Is that what you're saying? That you're going to like come down on them like a raging gorilla and like pummel them into pulp if they're not doing the regulations right, even though you're not doing the regulations right, you're not following medical advice. Doug Ford. God. It's just nuts. I know I'm laughing, but like I am upset. Like this isn't a good time. But I'm getting drunk. I smoked some weed before the stream. I'm thinking existence in this rotten universe is just freaking madness. So let's just fucking ride the wave, man. I'm doing the best I can. I'm continuing to be a responsible person, but shit, watching this guy, it's something else.
The clock to build out our hospital capacity. We've added 3,100 new hospital beds since the start of this pandemic. Cordalucci Vaughan Hospital has been providing pandemic overflow for months now. Right now, we're dedicating an additional 70 beds at the Toronto Congress Centre. These new beds will help more alternate level of care patients out of hospital so we can free beds for COVID patients.
What is alternate level of care? What does that even mean? Where is these, what does it mean to have extra beds at this place? What context is there? What does that mean to the average person that you're saying this to? Like, what actual information are you conveying? Because it feels like nothing. Feels like he's saying nothing. And that is essentially the sum, ultimately, of his words on this, is it's nothing. Yeah. Like, honestly, because the reason, thank you, Nat. The reason you should look up the supercut of Doug Ford saying ridiculous things is I'm actually not sure if I've mentioned this in this episode yet. But Doug Ford should probably resign for his gross incompetence of the handling of this entire pandemic. Should probably say that. I might mention it a few more times before this episode, maybe, if I remember. yeah, we should all be given thorough, regular reminders about the fact that Doug Ford is so bloody awful and incompetent that he should resign. I mean, the government shouldn't be providing an adequate reason for people to want to see the elected leader not be leader anymore. I feel like when the government is doing good and functional, that tends to not happen so much. So much. Maybe. I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I just got some ideas, okay? All right, let's move on to the next one. This is a fun one. This is super fun. Because as you all know, when Donald Trump was president, who was it that was there for the children? Who was it that was there for the immigrant kids to protect them? To all those immigrant kids who are ending up separated from their families and separated from their parents and ended up in detention centers. Who was the true and good angel of a social justice warrior? But of course, Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz was there for them, was he not? I believe Republican Trump simp who still probably has flecks of Trump's shit in his nostrils. Wasn't he the one that was standing up for the kids all along? Because according to this footage, now that Biden is having the kids in cages, so to speak, it's a very big issue.
Well, it's a crackdown at the border on transparency. The White House still refusing to allow reporters into packed migrant facilities like the one you're seeing right now. And Senator Ted Cruz...
They won't allow the press or investigators into these places? Like the photo you're seeing here, indicating that the press got into those places. Where did that photo come from? Was it during Trump's time or Biden's time? Would have been nice to see a photo attached to that. But it's very interesting that Fox News is now the ones that are very concerned about the children in cages.
Clashing with what appears to be a Biden administration staffer over filming the cramped conditions. Watch this.
You don't want the pictures taken. The rules are arbitrary and they're designed to keep the American people in the dark.
And
Are you respecting the rights of these kids?
This is not a zoo, sir. Please don't treat the people.
You're right, and this is a dangerous place.
Please don't treat the
and
people
your
like
policies,
this. That's all I ask
unfortunately,
for you,
are trying to hide them. I understand
That's
you
all
were
I ask
instructed
you.
when 8.
Suddenly, Ted Cruz is very concerned about justice. Suddenly, Ted Cruz wants the right of the press to see the conditions that these kids are being held in. You know, notable social justice warrior Ted Cruz. Of course. Who else would stand up for the children like he has been the past 5 years or so, like Ted Cruz? Because he was very concerned about this the entire time, particularly during the Trump administration, you see. Very concerned about this indeed. By no means am I saying it's okay that this is happening under Biden. By no means am I saying that the weird line of reasoning of saying this isn't a zoo to somebody trying to film the conditions that these kids are in and trying to spin this into a, you know, you filming this is actually the unhumanitarian thing. by no means am I saying that's a good line to go with or a great PR strategy by the part of people within the, I guess, Democratic administration upholding these current policies. They should be continue to be grilled, but not for a moment should we accept that from the likes of Ted fucking Cruz. Like, I'll take this footage and say that this woman sounds insufferable and that what's going on here needs to be addressed and improved upon. Even if the Biden administration, under all circumstances, given the horrible conditions they were handled in the wake of the Trump administration and the ongoing crisis of people coming through the border and the logistics of trying to handle that, we can I don't care about all the administrative or liberal or Democratic establishment sympathy one could draw up by the perfect storm that is that situation. I think it's perfectly beyond relevant to continue to put pressure on Biden for being in, for not having this solved yet. All the pressure in the world must be applied. But let's not forget for a goddamn moment what allowed this to happen in the first place, build up to being a giant problem, how many children got separated from their parents, and whose policies and decision makings that was. By no means does any action on behalf of the Democrats not doing everything they can to resolve this as quickly as possible and as responsibly as possible. Any failure on that part is not okay. But we have to recognize the reality that it was the very likes of Ted Cruz that allowed this to be a problem in the first place. They are the ones who threw the gasoline on this fire. So yeah, put all the pressure in the world on Joe Biden and his administration to do everything possible to fix this horrendous situation. And they should feel every bit of pressure to do that. They took on this job in the wake of Trump. They should have very well been aware of what they were signing up for. So, yeah, no mercy. But hearing this come from Ted Cruz now, Ted Cruz's needy for attention, complete lack of substance bullshit that he constantly spins as just a natural result of his existence, like how humans exude oil through their skin. Like he's just a rolling pile of sloppy ectoplasm, leaving remnants in the wake of wherever he goes. I hate this man, in case I didn't mention. I hate him, and he should resign from his position in much the same way that Doug Ford should resign, in case I haven't mentioned that in this episode yet. Please don't treat this like a zoo, sir. That is weak sauce. Like, really though, it's not acceptable in any capacity. That like, sure, we shouldn't be making a zoo of these kids, but we should still have a sense of transparency here. But it's just very interesting how concerned about that transparency that Fox is now.
I ask you to please respect the people, give them dignity and respect.
I respect them, and I want to fix this situation.
We all want to fix this.
He just wants to fix it so bad.
For these conditions.
He's been concerned about it for the past 5 years.
Border facilities is set to get worse, with officials expecting the surge in child migrants to last for 7 months. And as for transparency, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki is promising to let the cameras in.
At this point, in terms of allowing access to Border Patrol facilities for reporters, you are being less transparent than the Trump administration.
The Trump administration was turning away kids at the border, sending them back on the treacherous journey, or they were ripping kids from the arms of their parents. We're not doing that. We are committed to allowing cameras into the Border Patrol facilities.
So much to talk about. Tucker, I want to start with you. You know D.C.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like she's being completely honest there. Doesn't seem like she's convenient. She's committed to allowing cameras in. Doesn't seem like that's so much a standard policy. And, you know, when you're saying we're not ripping kids from the arms of their parents like the Trump administration was, then what are you doing? There is a fair question around the idea of transparency here. There should be more of it. Yes, absolutely. Because the lack of transparency leads to the fucking clowns at Fox News over here to start spinning this kind of yarn, and they're going to throw it to Tucker Carlson here. And what Tucker Carlson is going to do is his classic Tucker Carlson thing that he's been on. Anytime he talks about environmental impact and human population, he goes full eco-fascist every single time. It's always a question of, oh, now the resources, the landscape, what's going to happen? So there's all this concern trolling that comes out of figures like Tucker and others within the right wing. Yeah. He's just going to use every classic sidestepping excuse that sounds like a sort of populist, maybe logical thing, but it's completely disingenuous.
Journalists very well. And while many of them have said they're frustrated, they're not furious about the access. Why do you think that is?
They're not furious that they don't have access to this. You guys literally avoided talking about this for 4 years. Avoided it at all costs.
Well, because it's their candidate. I mean, they just
their candidate. Elected, of course, it's their candidate. So they're going to.
I think there are a lot of details we can't see because cameras aren't let in. I think the big picture is really clear. Many thousands of people are arriving into this country. Most of them will not leave. All of them, according to Joe Biden, are on track to become citizens. So there are 2 points that people are not considering, and I think they should be. One,
what are they, Tucker?
Is the allocation of political power. We talk about voting rights. In a democracy, demographics equals political power. So if you change the demographics of the country, if you bring in a lot more people without the consent of the governed, you dilute the political power of the people who live here.
You're diluting the political power of the people that live here. Immigrants are dangerous. That's his first point. Immigrants are dangerous because their existence in this country takes power away from you, existing American. You should be concerned about helping people and people in crisis that was caused by your country.
That's a really meaningful thing. And we're talking huge numbers. I started in journalism 30 years ago. 30 years ago, there were 100 million fewer people living in the United States than there are now. 100 million. California.
Oh, my God, 100 million. We have more, it's easily Googleable. Yeah, I'm considering that a word now. Numbers that you can find that there is more than enough resources to provide for that 100 million people. That's not an issue.
Alone had 10 million fewer people. It was a completely different place, a much better place. So the question...
Say what? California had 10 million fewer people 30 years ago. It was a much better place. Just by virtue of it having less people. It was a better place 30 years ago? I don't know. I'd have a lot of questions for a number of people if it was better for them 30 years ago in California. I can think of a few demographics that perhaps Tucker Carlson is missing there that maybe didn't have it better 30 years ago. But he thinks, of course, in the fictional past that the average fascist loves to spin in their mind. Of course, he thinks that that is, a better place 30 years ago.
question is, how many people do you want to live here? We have about 350
Oh my
million.
God, there's going to be too many people
there
here.
Are massive
Overpopulation.
environmental effects of overcrowding. Nature actually bears the burden of that at a certain point.
Now I'm concerned about climate change just because of the number of people existing in America instead of, everywhere else and the resources that we use. Now it's...
The natural landscape does, and all of us who live here do. So at what point do we say it's not about whether these are deserving people? I think they mostly probably are, and all nice people.
Of course, I think they're just nice people. They deserve to have things, but they're a threat to us.
No one's debating that. But what about the people who already live here? Like, it seems like we have
people
enough
who live here?
people in the country. Why is nobody saying that? I think I will start saying that because I think it's true.
I think I will start saying that, even though that's the thing I say every single time, anytime anything related to immigration happens. This is the same yarn that I pull every single time. This is my literal playbook, but I'm acting like I just thought of this right now. Fucking Tarl Cuckerson. That's yeah, there we go. I almost said that accidentally, but I'm just going to lean into it. Just full-on racism, xenophobia, and, just othering of people. You got to be scared of people coming into this country. You have to be scared of, you can be scared of climate catastrophe only to the extent of it meaning that outsiders are coming in. We have to consider them outsiders and a threat and less than human. As long as we can frame it within that, we can talk about environmental issues, according to Tucker Carlson. Just amazing stuff. Fantastic. And, yeah, sure. Of course, we could talk about how Tucker Carlson is an obvious xenophobic racist until the cows come home. That was just such a loud, screaming example of it. You can find that footage right there on Fox News's own page because they proudly display this stuff. They think this type of racist yarn to spin is very good and cool. And it's right there on YouTube. Monetized. Yeah. Anyway, this is one of my favorite stories. If you follow the Facebook page and my Twitter page, you probably would have seen this already. But yeah. YouTube removed Steven Crowder from his partner program indefinitely. He got suspended for a week, too. A lot of lefty YouTubers and social media users that try and promote education and activism through those platforms, such as myself, such as a lot of people that are much more prominent and bigger than I am in that regard, leaned into making sure that the fact that Steven Crowder is an obvious bigot is super hard to ignore. And evidently that was able to yield some level of success. He looks like such a dork with that freaking, gun holster thing on. Like, he needs to be on his show wearing his gun holster. What a fucking nerd. Like, if if he was just like a cosplay, what is that? Uncharted Drake character. If he was just kind of leaning into that, I might think it's kind of cool. But yeah. Anyway, yeah. So YouTube finally came down on him, but only suspended for a week, and he's been indefinitely demonetized. So, not a huge dent in what he does overall, I don't think. I don't know how much this is actually going to hurt him, but I guess it's better than nothing. Yeah, if you want to go back, if you're watching right now wondering to yourself what Steven Crowder did that's so bad, you can go back and watch previous episodes. I'm pretty sure in the descriptions and titles of the episodes of this show, you can go back and see Steven Crowder mentioned, and I have a segment where I think I've done it at least 3 or 4 times, segments on Steven Crowder of him being an obvious, just intolerant piece of shit. Yeah. So that's good news. That made me feel good inside to see just some level of comeuppance for being an asshole, I guess. Anyway, so it's 8 o'clock now. I'm about done with this show. Those were all the things I wanted to talk about today. I want to thank all of you for watching. I love you. You are my favorites. Yeah, and as always, think about for the next little while what you're going to do to improve the situation around you and spread the concept of universal love and socialism and taking care of each other in society and the debt that we owe to just being here and taking care of each other. Whether you want to take that in a spiritual way, whether you want to take that in a economic class way, there's a lot of different ways that you can interpret that. But I always hope to promote the reflection of that and, furthering the idea of it. When we exit this world, let's maybe leave it a bit of a better place than what we were given. I very much hope that we are, as millennials, as a species, that we're able to do that. So, once again, I am Jimmy Ruffian. Thank you so much for tuning into my live stream, for tuning into the show in general. Going to have an announcement about more live music stuff coming up soon. If you haven't seen, I've recently joined TikTok, and I've been using this little drum pad machine dealie to make my loops and music a little more fun and interesting and entertaining. So check out The Rough Go on TikTok, as well as all these other social media platforms you see here. And yeah, like, subscribe, share. I don't have any donation thing or Patreon program set up again yet. So the best thing you can do to help out The Rough Go and The Rough Report is to like, share, subscribe, and just help spread the word. Thank you so much once again for watching the show. We'll see you again next week. We're definitely going to be doing a stream again on Thursday, and if time provides and something interesting happens between now and then, I sometimes pop up and do an extra stream every now and then. So yes, thank you once again for tuning in.